Welcome back, everybody. We're here for another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. Today, a new to me Northern Michigan author is visiting to read from her debut novel. This is Josephine Jordin. Welcome to the program, Josephine. How are you?
Hello, Diana. It's wonderful to meet you.
It's great to meet you. I'm so glad that you came on the program today.
Thank you
Uh,
so much
I
for the
love,
opportunity.
oh, I'm happy to have you. I love discovering new authors. And I love discovering new books. And as I've said over the last 5 years, I am a recovering 6-year-old, and I just love it when people read out loud to me. So
That's
I'm really,
wonderful.
really glad that you're on the program.
Oh, thank you.
Before we get started, I want to make sure everybody understands that there is a listener advisory for this book. It does include some violence and mature situations. So if you have little ears listening in on the program today, you may want to preview it before you let the little ears listen, just to make sure. So, Josephine hails from the picturesque landscapes of northern Michigan. She has a literary passion that embodies her craving for all things sweet and spicy. Armed with a degree in criminology from Portland State University and drawing inspiration from the likes of C.S. Lewis, Dean Koontz, and the dynamic duo of Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, Josephine weaves tales that blend romantic depth and suspense. She invites you to experience her debut novel, Ready for a Storm, the first in the three-part series, and she's going to read that book for us today. I'm so excited to have you. So you have a degree in criminology?
I do. Yes.
Like you know all those scary ways that people can do horrible, nasty things to each other?
I guess if you want to call it that, sure. Sure.
How much of that is transferred into your writing?
I think it definitely plays a role in shaping some of the characters. Yes.
Okay. Do you find yourself really leaning into that part of the writing, or do you just use it? Do you use criminology to sprinkle through, or is it the main focus of your work?
I think for this book, it's definitely sprinkled throughout. Once I finish this series, I have another novel in mind, which will pull, I think, more directly from that background, that experience. So,
Okay. The book today, Ready for a Storm, is book one of the Storm series. Can you give us a little understanding of what this is about? This is a sweet,
sure.
spicy romance, sprinkled with suspense.
Yes. So, as you said, this is book one in a three-part continuous series. Features celebrity, bodyguard, and military tropes. I like to say it blends the romance and romantic suspense genre because it doesn't fit real neatly into either of those genres,
Okay.
which is why I started framing it as sweet and spicy and sprinkled with suspense. So,
I think that's a great way to
yeah.
describe it.
Oh,
I mean, it
thank you.
kind of fits everything in there.
Yeah,
But this is a new book for you. It's your first. How
it
did you
is.
find the writing process? Was it daunting? Was it exciting? Was it frustrating? What came up for
Honestly,
you as you were writing?
honestly, definitely excitement more than anything else. It just really, um, as we mentioned when we were speaking previously, it kind of started from a desire to find a winter hobby because up here in northern Michigan and in the tundra region,
Yeah.
I just, when you're holed up anyway, it just seemed like a really great creative outlet. And it really just ignited this all-consuming fire within me. And it just truly excitement. And I just felt really passionate throughout the whole process. It never once felt daunting to me. Um, Though again, maybe I just got lucky. I don't know because I'm sure down the road I'll experience that.
Books are kind of like children. Each one
Mhm.
of them it has their own personality and their own foibles to work
Sure,
through.
sure.
So we'll see how you go when you finish the
Yeah.
series. We'll talk
Yeah.
again.
That'd be great.
Can you tell us a little bit about the backstory for this main character?
Sure. So, Ava Ellis, she's an actress, kind of recently blacklisted from Hollywood. So she's taking her career in a new direction and slowly starting to take off again. And then this threat happens, and her brother gets involved. And lo and behold, she ends up with a trio of Titans there to watch over her.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, okay.
Anytime you use the word Titans in a story, I
It's
get sucked in right away.
oh, wonderful. Well, it seemed most fitting. So,
I'm a mythology nut, so
oh, okay.
okay, great. I'm looking forward to hearing you read a little bit about this, and then we'll talk about it after you're done reading. So when you are ready, please, Josephine Jordin, take the microphone and read aloud from Ready for a Storm.
Thank you. Start my timer. Mansions pilfered her resplendent autumn view as the limousine crept past the emerging amber and scarlet hues that seamed its lengthy path. Ava uncrossed her lean legs and smoothed her skirt while the luxury model executed its final turn and rolled to a stop midway through the circular drive. It's good to be home. She gathered her belongings as the silver-haired driver crossed in front of the posh vehicle. She preferred to exit herself, but wouldn't dare deprive him of the enjoyment he derived from performing his responsibilities. A moment later, the heavy door glided open with a muted creak, freeing its passenger. Thank you, Henry. Ava pointed her peep-toe pump to reach the asphalt, then stepped from the vehicle. My pleasure, Miss Ellis, Henry called out as he strode toward the trunk. He unloaded her remaining luggage, one suitcase at a time, careful to position each one upright at the base of the sandstone stairway. I'll wait to see that you make it inside. It's very kind but unnecessary. Ava sauntered toward the front steps of the sprawling brick colonial nestled in an exclusive, sought-after Connecticut suburb. Duties are duties, miss, Henry replied with a playful wink, triggering a beaming smile from his passenger. Considered handsome by most, Ava couldn't escape falling victim to his charm. Had the man been 20 years younger, she may have been tempted to invite him in for a nightcap. Well, in that case, I thank you for your chivalry. After reaching the Brazilian mahogany entry door, a raspberry red fingernail tapped in the six-digit code on the electronic keypad. With an audible click, the door swung open, and Ava turned to thank her driver a final time. He returned her gratitude with a fetching smile. Dusk cast the expansive home into a shadowy darkness, but the dim foyer basked in bright light with the flip of a switch. Avoiding the pile of mail at her feet, Ava set her bags on the tufted caramel bench opposite the grand staircase and took a moment to adjust to the stillness. 4 weeks had passed since she'd been home, and although she'd lived alone for the past few years, she had neither grown accustomed to nor enjoyed the emptiness. She delighted in visions of her home one day bustling with a family of her own. Ava meandered past the columned entrance of the vast living room, located across from the double-paneled doors that enclosed the study, and into the generous kitchen. She opened the French slider that led to the patio, welcomed the balmy September air, and stepped onto the natural stone, reminded of why she fell in love with this place. Encased with lavish perennials and surrounded by shrubs of varying height that guaranteed privacy, the patio wound around a three-tier fountain, creating a swoon-worthy entertainment space. She strolled along the curving path, admiring the blossoms of the season and taking refuge in the tranquility. With the last rays of nautical twilight fading, Ava traipsed inside. The mid-September Connecticut temps required neither heat nor air, prompting her to close only the screen door behind her. She retreated to the capacious master suite to slip into something more comfortable before tackling the daunting task of sorting through several weeks' worth of mail. The inviting space featured a king-size cherry sleigh bed draped in burgundy satin, a paisley contoured chaise in one corner, a matching sofa in another, and an envy-inducing ensuite. She wasted no time selecting her loungewear, black bootcut leggings and a fitted heather tee. Having put in 14-plus-hour days of camera-ready makeup and wardrobe for the past 4 weeks, she pined for good old-fashioned comfort. Since joining the ranks at Home Point Productions 18 months ago, Ava had achieved fan favorite status in record time. Her second film, a heartwarming romantic comedy about a young woman who inherits her lost long aunt's lavender farm, became their top-grossing film of the year. Soon after, following a sordid sex scandal that forced them to part ways with their lead actress, Ava, at the director's request, acquired the starring role in a much-anticipated mystery adventure. Slated for premiere next month, the movie Mayhem and Mystery teased an entire series, contingent on official ratings. She roamed the main floor, turning lights on here and there, and announced her preferred playlist to her AI friend. She was in a rhythm and blues kind of mood. Before settling into the inviting farmhouse kitchen, she readied herself for disappointment, then peered into the stainless steel fridge. Disappointment proved to be an understatement, and her stomach groaned in protest. Lacking the ambition to venture out on a clandestine grocery run, she reached an important decision. Chinese delivery would have to suffice, as if I need an excuse. With her order, a quart of vegetable lo mein on the way, and her favorite musician enchanting her through the built-in speakers, Ava began to feel at home. She grabbed the stack of mail that cluttered her foyer, then moseyed back into the kitchen. Spying a thin gap between the screen door and its frame, she hurried over to slide it closed. Her eyes scanned the sage-green walls in search of mosquitoes. Satisfied none of the pesky insects had moved in, she settled onto a vegan leather saddleback stool. 3 credit card offers in, the doorbell rang, coinciding with a grumbling from her stomach. As she swung open the heavy mahogany door, her eyes fell upon a familiar young man with shoulder-length raven hair. His face brightened when his eyes met Ava, and he passed off her taste bud teasing order. After the brief exchange and a generous tip, Ava found herself back at the island, fork in hand, staring at the pile of mail. A large pink envelope captured her attention, and her fingers reached for that one next. It was half open before she felt the crushing force of a muscular arm around her ribcage. The scream almost escaped her lips before the black-gloved hand extinguished it. Chapter 2. Instinct took over. With all the force she could muster, Ava raised her knees to her chest and kicked off against the kitchen island. Caught off guard, her attacker lost his balance and fell backward onto the hard marble surface, releasing his grasp. With a surge of adrenaline, Ava jumped up and bolted for the bedroom, her mind racing. If she could just lock herself in her room, she knew the solid core arch-panel door would buy her enough time to escape through the window. From there, she could either go to a neighbor for help or hide in the dark cover of her plentiful perennials. Just make it to the bedroom. Inches from the doorway, an excruciating tug on her long hair stopped her in her tracks. Her attacker spun her around and threw her against the wall so hard she thought she heard the drywall crack. Forced to face her assailant, his appearance cloaked by a black ski mask, her gut twisted with dread. He held her wrists against the wall, stealing the strength from her arms. Heavy boots pinned her petite feet to the floor, rendering any attempt to raise a knee to his groin useless. Chest heaving and body trembling, Ava swallowed the lump in her throat and drove herself to confront the dark, soulless eyes in front of her. After what seemed like forever, her assailant spoke. "Take care to remember what I say," the thick, accented voice instructed. "Tell your brother if he does not approve a certain visa, then I come back and you will never see your family again. If you call police, then you do not see your family again. Do you understand?" Her attacker's voice competed with the pounding in her chest. Nonetheless, she nodded in understanding. Obsidian eyes continued their fixation. After a long moment, he released his hold and regressed one step at a time. He reached his hands into the side pockets of his black utility pants. One pulled out a piece of paper that he proceeded to drop on the floor, the other a 12-inch combat knife. He said nothing as he continued his retreat towards the patio door, but the knife spoke loud and clear. Ava remained frozen against the wall, fearing the slightest movement would cause him to change his mind. Reaching the screen door, her attacker turned and bolted out into the darkness. A discomforting silence materialized as Ava worked up the nerve to free herself from the wall. She sprinted to the screen door, heart pounding with fear that her assailant waited to reach in and grab her as she approached. She slammed the French sliders shut and secured the lock. As fast as her shaking legs would carry her, she darted to the other entry doors to check that they were secure, her terror mounting with each step. Heart pounding at a cardiac arrest rate, Ava returned to the kitchen and braced herself against the island. "Pull it together, Ava. The threat has passed." Several calling breaths later, she reached into a kitchen drawer, removed a pair of tongs, then bent down to retrieve the piece of paper her attacker had left. A glance revealed a name which meant nothing to her. She dropped the paper into an empty envelope, grabbed her cell, which lay next to her now cold lo mein, and swiped. The threat of notifying the police was of little concern to her. She had a direct line to a force that was much more effective. Grayson Ellis loosened his Italian silk tie and plopped down on the roll-arm beige leather sofa positioned in the center of the suite. Man, it felt good to have that over with. He glanced at his diamond-encrusted Swiss watch, 8:43 in the evening. After a week filled with nonstop meetings, luncheons, presentations, and lavish dinners, the luxurious suite at the Waldorf Hotel in Manhattan offered the perfect setting to unwind. At only 42 years of age, Grayson was the youngest U.S. ambassador on record. Did his surname help him get the prestigious position? Absolutely. But What he made of the role was up to him and him alone. Much was expected of him, and he intended to surpass those expectations, just as his father had. Although the past several meetings with the Secretary of State had elicited glowing remarks, he would not allow himself to grow complacent. Nonetheless, he gave him the slightest kudos. After all, praise was a powerful motivator. Tomorrow would offer a refuge from the hustle and bustle of the city as well, and he looked forward to the scenic drive. He heard familiar footsteps approaching from behind. "I've taken care to ensure that everything is secure," a commanding British voice announced. Grayson craned his neck to face his chief security officer. "Much appreciated." "Shall we debrief?" "Not necessary. I imagine, much like myself, you're exhausted from the hectic week. Go, relax, please." Grayson laced his fingers behind his head. "We'll have plenty of time to debrief in the car tomorrow." "All right. As always, I'm here if you need me." The 6'2" retired commando pivoted and strode toward the door that led to his adjoining room, specifically designed for dignitary security personnel. "Good night, my friend." The lack of response didn't offend Grayson. Brody was a man of few words. When he spoke, however, it was to the point and pertinent. Grayson admired his directness and, moreover, his loyalty, which Brody had proven time and again during 26 years of service with the Royal Marines. Following his appointment as ambassador, Grayson's father's closest confidant, an admiral with the United States Navy, suggested he consider Brody as head of his security detail. The admiral's son, an elite member of a legendary SEAL team, had crossed paths on several occasions with the British Special Forces. During a joint operation involving a large swath of deadly ground, the admiral's son sustained a devastating injury. Brody, using a fireman's carry, hauled him over 200 meters to their safe zone, even as the enemy continued to spray rounds. Not long after, Brody parted way with the Special Forces. He had seen enough. The retired elite operative had sworn to his wife that he wouldn't take on any new role unless it met three criterion. His wife had to deem it safe enough, as she put it. It had to be adequately challenging to keep his mind sharp and focused, as he'd grown a bit bored in retirement and, also as his wife put it, was becoming intolerable. And it couldn't require a lot of travel. He had spent too much of his life away from their family. The prominent position offered by the ambassador checked all of those boxes. A permanent residence on the embassy's grounds proved a priceless perk. Brody was just about to turn in. After all, it was 0200 his time, when he heard the faint ring of Grayson's personal cell. He pulled the gold jacquard comforter back and fluffed the hotel pillow, just as Grayson bolted through the door. "Call LaGuardia and have them prep the jet. We need to get to Connecticut ASAP." Chapter 3. 20 minutes later, the ambassador sat beside Brody in the back of the high-end town car that serviced the Waldorf on their way to LaGuardia International Airport, deep in thought. Grayson had filled Brody in as they gathered their belongings. Plagued with anxiety and anger, he couldn't get his mind straight. He knew his position as ambassador came with risks, but he had great confidence in his security team. He never worried about his mom, wife, and two children when they were there, but he felt foolish for not encouraging his only sister, given her upper echelon status, to maintain a stronger security presence. As dreadful thoughts consumed his mind, Grayson sought out Brody's stabilizing eyes. A moment later, as if his trusted bodyguard had read his mind, Brody tossed him the sat phone. "Call your sister. The second she answers, tell her to pretend you're a friend who's calling to catch up and to make no mention of what just happened." Grayson was quick to oblige. When Ava picked up, he instructed her to carry on a fake conversation. Thankfully, she caught on to the directive. As Ava pretended to speak with her agent about an exciting new deal, Grayson relayed Brody's instructions. "Close every single blind and curtain. Make sure the house is secure. When you leave to pick us up from the airport, drive around your block twice to be sure no one is following before you leave your neighborhood." Brody's task worked. Grayson had regained his clarity. The trio returned to Ava's house just before midnight. Traffic proved heavier than expected, and she'd arrived at the airport's FBO in time to recognize the unmistakable outlines of Brody and Grayson exiting their jet. Clad in an expensive-looking navy suit, custom-tailored to his tall, athletic physique, with thick, sandy brown hair slicked back, Grayson looked ready to take on the world, as usual. Ava spied his trusted bodyguard as he marched a few steps behind, his silver crew cut recently sheared, with a disgruntled, no-nonsense look plastered on his elongated face. During the drive, Brody rattled off specific instructions on how to proceed once they returned to the premises. Brody would access the house first. Following his all clear, Ava and Gray were to enter and continue their concerned conversation while he used a high-end bug detector to sweep the house. In his experience, Brody explained, most assailants attempted to keep tabs on their victims by planting a listening device, and he suspected her case would be no different. Following Brody's signal, the sibling duo entered the kitchen to discover him holding a funny-looking antenna device. He raised one finger to his lips, then pointed to the underside of a cabinet near the patio door, indicating he'd located a device. He gestured for Ava and Gray to keep talking, then stalked off to search the remaining rooms. Ava and her brother conversed as instructed while dropping off the first round of gear before repeating the process. Bag after bag made its debut. The urge to mock her brother about his ridiculous amount of baggage teetered on overwhelming, but given that most of the gear belonged to Brody, and he didn't strike her as the kind of guy who'd tolerate being teased, she opted to bite her tongue. A short while later, Brody returned, plucked the device from its hiding spot, and threw open the French slider. He stomped onto the patio, then smashed the device to bits with a concrete block. Now we can speak freely. The rest of the house is clear. Thank you, my friend. Grayson patted the silver-haired ex-commando on the back before taking a seat at the island next to his sister. Ava's eyes shifted between Brody and her brother. I feel safer already just having you both here, she whispered with welling tears. Thank you for coming so quickly. Grayson wrapped his arm around his sister and extended a long, comforting hug. In front of the camera, Ava exuded confidence, but in real life she struggled to keep her emotional vulnerability at bay. In need of a distraction, she collected herself, handed Grayson her pair of latex gloves, and directed his attention to the envelope that lay on the quartz in front of him. I appreciate the caution. Grayson stretched the thin blue latex over his large hands. I doubt we'll find any latents, but I'll check just to be thorough, Brody stated, his denim blue eyes following the ambassador's hands. Grayson opened the envelope and removed a small piece of plain white paper. He stared at it for a moment, then laid it on the counter for all to see before standing and pacing the length of the kitchen. Brody moved in closer and read the slip aloud. Osian Thomas. Ava exchanged an unknowing glance with the retired commando before returning her attention to Grayson, a blank expression on his handsome face. His pace slowed as if weighed down by thought. I have absolutely no idea who this is. Grayson advanced toward their pile of bags. Where's the sat phone? I need to speak to Diplomat Jennings to see if he can shed any light on this. Agreed, Brody said, plucking a briefcase from Grayson's grasp. However, we need to proceed carefully from this point forward. Yes, of course, Grayson nodded. What do you propose? It's just after 0500 back home. Let's not raise the alarm just yet. You'll call Jennings in the morning and ask him to discreetly check into this Thomas guy. While I assume we can trust your staff, I prefer to err on the side of caution. Let's not forget the rumors surrounding your predecessor. Ava's gaze fell upon her brother. What happened with your predecessor, Gray? Grayson let out an exaggerated sigh. There's a long history, but in a nutshell, some very questionable visas got approved on his watch. He was careful to cover his tracks, but plenty of speculation that he took bribes. Pacing once again, Gray massaged the back of his neck. I've had to work hard to restore trust in our embassy, which has resulted in a much higher deny rate. I'll contact Jennings in the morning and we'll go from there. In the meantime, Grayson locked his hazel eyes onto his sister. I must get back to the UK. After what happened here tonight, Ava, I'm deeply worried about Jenna and the kids. Mom, too. You'll simply have to stay with us at Winfield until this gets sorted out. Standing, Ava met her brother's stare. Gray, I'm grateful for the offer, but staying indefinitely isn't an option. I just signed on for another project that might start filming soon. Besides, no matter where we are, none of us will be able to rest easy until this guy is caught. It'd be much easier to keep you safe. Grayson's hands found his hips. If you stay here, I'll have to get you a Secret Service detail, which is going to take time. Forgive me, a British accent interrupted. I'm not sure that's the best play. What do you mean? In my experience, your government is bloody annoying. Brody crossed his athletic arms over his broad frame. Getting the DHS involved means more red tape and less flexibility, let alone the attention that will garner. Discretion is imperative. You're also forgetting the most obvious reason, which is, Grayson asked, your assailant warned against it. Ava exchanged a knowing glance with her brother. Brody's rationale was hard to argue. The guy was right, and they both knew it. I suspect you already have something in mind, Grayson said. Brody's response came in the form of a sly smile. Then he pulled out his personal cell and punched in a number.
Oh
Do I?
my gosh, that's a wonderful space to leave it
Thank
on because
you.
now I'm trying to figure out what comes next.
Oh,
Very cool.
I'm
Very, very
sorry.
cool.
I'm
No, no, no.
sorry. There was another passage, but I was trying to be
I didn't
cognizant of the time for you, so I'm
I
sorry.
know, me too, and I didn't want you to stop reading because I was really enjoying it.
Oh,
So
well, thank
thank
you.
you
I
so much.
appreciate that. And
Um,
thank you again for the opportunity.
I'm happy to have you. What was the biggest challenge? This is your first novel. What was the biggest challenge in getting this out to the world?
I think honestly, for me, it was the confidence to even put this out in the world. I really struggled with that. It was very, very difficult for me and took a lot of prayer and a lot of reflection to even decide to move forward with doing that. So that was
So
probably the biggest challenge.
what was the thing that finally pushed you?
So honestly, I'm of course self-published, but initially, I tried to, I did pursue traditional publishing, and I actually was working with a small press publisher, and I was
Mm-hmm.
thrilled to be moving forward in that process. Um, Received really great feedback, and again, very excited about moving forward with that. And there was one character, not a main character, but one character who became a real sticky point with this
Okay.
publisher. And um, they wanted either this character just removed or drastically changed.
And you didn't
And
want to do that.
I didn't, because
Yeah.
I really felt like it would change, it would really water down the whole story.
Okay.
And then it would change, it would alter the outcome of the remaining books. And again, not a significant character, but I did feel like this character played a role in my protagonist's self-discovery, I guess. That being said, working with that publisher, I think gave me the confidence I needed to want to put it out there. So
Sure. It kind of gives you a moment of legitimacy where you say, "Oh, somebody else saw value in this, so why not?" Right?
exactly,
Yeah.
Diana,
Yeah.
exactly. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad that you decided to join our merry band of misfits and bring your story out into the world. And I look forward to having you back in the program with book two.
Thank you. I would love that very much.
Fantastic. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks so much, Diana.
You're welcome.